Welcome to EnigmaCast, nerds. I got a special treat for y'all because I'm just that type of guy. What I did is when I pick up my phone and I go into contacts and I look, all that's in there is a bunch of winners. My mother's not even in my contacts because all I do is bring winners. And not only when I'm bringing winners to the table, I bring winners together. So I have reached out to my boy, Chuck Larson, the second Bigfoot researcher I've ever met from the state of New Jersey, king of the Catskills.
Yes, sir.
Chuck, introduce yourself, buddy. Tell everybody about you.
What's going on? My name is Chuck Larson from the CARC, the Catskill and Appalachian Research Collective. We do investigations. We have a podcast or a show called Bigfoot Journal on the Untold Radio Network, and we try to get out in the woods as much as possible, man. We try to prove that Bigfoot exists up in New Jersey and Pennsylvania and New York.
Right. And Chuck's area of expertise is the Catskills region of the Appalachian Mountain Trails. Correct, Chuck?
Yes, sir. Yep. And also the Jersey part, too. Catskills and then the Appalachian and New Jersey and Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
yep.
That sounds good. So then what I do is I go down back into my hood, head on down to East Tennessee where I was born and bred and beat and starved and froze to death and taught how to be all kinds of sassy. And I pulled out the number one hardest working dude out of the Smoky Mountains, my boy Harley Owens, the guy every time I go out, he's seeing a Dogman, a Bigfoot, making the cast, just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Harley, welcome to the show, brother. Tell everybody where they can find you and all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, X, all social media platforms, Bigfoot Reports and Data. I came into this, I didn't believe in Bigfoot and all that stuff, and in 2020, I seen my first one and got a photograph of it. I found tracks, photographed, video those, and I recorded vocalizations. And, it was a wild ride after that. I stopped hunting and fishing for 3 years, and then it ate me up so bad. I was like, I got to get back doing what I love, hunting and fishing. And, I did that on Thanksgiving of 2023, and, I started researching December 7th of 2023, and I've had a huge success, and today actually marks my 1 year anniversary of seeing my first Dogman. So,
all right, hey,
wow!
Awesome. We're gonna get into that. Everybody, Enigmites, you know how I roll. These are my boys. All their contact information will be in the description of this video. I'm a follow back snob, but I happen to follow these two nerds. So if you can't find them in the things, just hit on my small little follow section. Go in there, give them a follow. Content is great. They are actually a rarity. I have been doing this for a while. Fun fact, Chuck Larson was the first guy I ever spoke to at a Bigfoot. I'm sorry, Griff was the first one. Sorry, Griff, I know you watch these shows. Griff was the first guy I ever spoke to at a Bigfoot conference. Chuck was the second. Chuck was emceeing the event up there. Chuck, where was that at again? I always forget that name, man. It's
the Central Pennsylvania Bigfoot and Cryptid Festival. It's in Ellensburg, Pennsylvania. Yeah, Gwen Purcell was part of our group. She owns Got Knockers, but she's also part of the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective. She throws that. It's going to be the third year this year.
Yeah.
It's getting bigger every year.
I'll tell you what, Enigmites, if you've never been to a Bigfoot event, I had so much fun. I'm telling you right now, I had so much fun. 9 out of 10 people I met there were chill. And I tell you what, man, me and Chuck hit it off, Griff hit it off, Gwen hit it off, man. It was a lot of fun. So if you get a chance to go to that one in the PA, it's the only one up in that northeast part, man. It's amazing. Anyway, so
thank you.
Let's get into this, nerds, all that whole, hey, how you doing? Hey, Chuck, hey, Harley. Enough of that crap, man. Enough of that crap, all right? You know how I don't get down like that, man. People sending me tips on, hey, Joseph, your show would do better if you did shut up, all right? Where were you when I was putting this together? I don't want your advice. Right, so these two guys are a rarity in the community, and I mean this now. When I first waded into this topic of podcasting, Bigfooting, going out there, I have encountered, and I don't care if you get upset when I say this or not, the guys that actually go into the dirt seem to be far and few between on these Bigfoot guys. It's always a story of when I was 30 years ago, or when I was 10 years ago, or when I saw this. These two nerds, like me, stay in the woods. And so And that's out there, and that's a thing. That's a ready to go into it, man. And so, you guys, congratulations, boys. I'm going to renew your contracts, man. Congratulations, man. Get out there and get out.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So the purpose of
Today's looking all right.
Today, hey, boys, don't ever say I never gave you anything, man. I'm giving you the same thing I gave you last year, just in a different color, man. That's it, right? So,
Appreciate it.
these two guys here, I'm testing out a new format on the show where I want to start connecting people who would normally not have the chance to swap notes and get into it, right? And so I've had several people that when I pitched this idea, they're like, I would do it. But I was just politely telling them in my mind, like, nah, I know the two perfect guys, man. And we actually talked about this email months ago. We sent this email out, man. We got things together. So boys, thanks for coming on the show. Enough of that nicety crap. We're gonna get into this, man. So I'm gonna lead off the question here, and I'm gonna throw it to Chuck, and then I'm gonna throw it to Harley. And this is a softball question that people come across, but after I've coming up on several interviews, and this question I'm about to ask is the most divisive question amongst the community, man, that I can see, right? So I'm gonna throw it to you, Chuck, first.
All right.
What is Bigfoot? It's that simple, man. What is it?
All right, what is it? Well, what do I hope? Can I answer it this way? What do I hope it is?
Yeah. What do you hope it is? Thank you.
I hope it's flesh and blood. I hope it's a missing link, or it's just something that we haven't discovered yet. An undiscovered primate.
Yeah.
I'm hoping and praying that's what it is, because, like I said before, if it's an alien, I don't know if I'm going to be looking for it anymore. I think I'm going to retire. So, yeah, I'm hoping that it's flesh and blood. Actually, I've been jumping down a rabbit hole in the Bible, see if I could, turn up some stuff in, the Book of Enoch and and Nimrod and stuff like that. But like I said, I hope it's flesh and blood. But until we get a body to dissect, we don't know what it is. I mean, the thing I saw. It looked like it was like a tall, really tall humanoid, human-like creature. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it crouched down, and I couldn't see it again. So it's not like one of those where it kind of was walking and then just disappeared. It crouched down, and it must have crawled out of where it was, because it didn't do any disappearing act on me. Like just in the thin air. So, but I'm hoping it's a flesh and blood.
Yeah. So Harley, what do you think it is?
Well, I used to think that they were just flesh and blood. I thought Gigantopithecus, or some kind of relic hominid. And then, I got out in the woods and I started just to put myself in the position, to where I could have these experiences and these encounters, and I'd have these strange things happen. I'd find these orbs floating around at night. I'd have UFOs flying around in the sky at night. And I would just experience these things that wouldn't make sense. Picking up whistles on audio that I couldn't hear with the naked ear. And then I would experience these voices that are not my conscience. I had something say Jerome to me, and I had no idea what Jerome meant. And shortly after I had that happen, like walking up the trail, I see this huge X, that the Sasquatch had made, and I was like, well, there's got to be a correlation between that, I think, because I don't have just a random voice going through my head, and there's nobody else out here but me. So I looked up what Jerome meant, and it's ancient Greek for elder or guardian. And so I went down the rabbit hole. I was like, well, there's got to be a connection somewhere, and I will admit, Squatching has brought me closer to God. And I read my Bible a lot more, and as it said in the days of Noah, well, actually, we'll start with Genesis. It said, talking about the Nephilim, and it talks in the Nephilim are on the earth in those days, and then after, and I can't remember the other verse right off of that, but it says right before the second coming of Jesus, so it will be the days of Noah again. Mm-hmm. And I think that if there's anything that's an explanation for them, I think Cain could be a possibility, you know, because Cain was cursed to be a restless wanderer of the earth. Or Esau, you know, he was born covered with red hair.
Red hair, yeah.
He had a association with the giants. My buddy Justin Brown from the Prometheus Lens podcast, he just released his first book, and you know, it's about it's called the Epic of Esau. And he's done his research on all this stuff, and he is a firm believer that, you know, the Bigfoot, you know, are descendants of Esau. And he claimed his case. You know, I've had him out in the woods with me, and it's awesome. And then you know, then there's obviously the Nephilim connection. You know, that they're just descendants from the Nephilim that survived the flood. Now you may ask yourself, well, how they survived the flood? You know, obviously, if you have cave systems, you know, there's obviously air pockets, you know, and maybe God just intentionally left some of them alive. I mean, it's $1 million question, but, you know, could they just be flesh and blood? Absolutely. I mean, could there be a little, you know, woo-woo side effect to it? Yeah, and I tend to be open-minded. You know, I've found tracks in the area, and then there will be no other tracks, you know, and then it's just this ominous feeling throughout the forest whenever you're out there. You know, you're always, your hairs are standing up. Yeah. So, you know, you know, I always encourage people, you know, don't go by yourself. Don't be like me. I go out by myself.
No, you're the only guy, bro. You're the only guy I know that does that.
I go out by myself. I'm young and stubborn, you know, and that's but that's how I've learned, you know. You can't find these things on the couch. If you want to put yourself in a position to have an experience or encounter, you have to go out and put yourself into that position. Now, I don't hike just on the trail. I'll go off the trail about 5 miles at least, if not further, you know, and then I'll find a spot just to sit down, and I'll just sit and listen and wait, or, you know, and it's just all about finding an area that you feel like they're going to be in habituated, and it's obviously going to be, you know, water, food, shelter, whatever the case may be, and then you just sit there and just put yourself in that position.
Yeah.
That's a good point, man, too. When I freaking the whole Esau connection that came in that as well. And if you read the book of Enoch, there's a specific chapter in there, Enigma. It's called the Book of Giants. And the Book of Giants is when the Nephilim, the Watchers, the Fae, because all the things you heard about in history, they had a council there, and they knew they were going to be, they were having these nightmares, they were going to be killed, and they went and petitioned Enoch to speak to God on their behalf, and he did. And God said, no, there is no Nephilim will ever set foot in heaven. But maybe if you repent, I'll change my mind, right? And so Bigfoot's outside of the siege of Zenobia and the Bigfoot war with the Choctaws out in Oklahoma, I want to say in 1855. And there's one more case out in Alaska I covered, Portlock, right? The Portlock.
Yes,
Latina. Those are the only those are the only 3 out of 100 other ones I've heard and looked at, man. Those are the only 3 where Bigfoots have taken lives, right? And it was in a very brutal fashion, right? Most of the stories, and I've actually got somebody sent me a video, it's just in my archives, I haven't had a chance to get on it, man, of a boy. He's just a little 12-year-old boy, right? And he's just doing what he has his cell phone out, he's in the woods, he's just like, hey, today I'm gonna show you guys how to make a little campfire. He's just doing something like that, right? And all of a sudden you see like a little pebble, not hard, just like kind of like lobbed over his head. He doesn't even notice it, right? He's like doing this and another. And then you see like a Bigfoot, man, all of a sudden just, you know, quickly just step out of the tree. When the Bigfoot realized that, you know what, hey, a little boy, I'm not going to put him with this rock, right? A little thing, but then the boy just saw it and then he just moved on.
Yeah.
And so, but I will tell you what they possess, you know, about, you can talk about, you know, we can, you know, have our own theories on what they are, but I can tell you what they possess based on every single story I've ever heard. They are smart. And I'm talking about They are wicked smart, man. They are very, very, very intelligent, right? And
they're fast too. They'll get it out of there. Like if you catch a glimpse of them, you're lucky, you know, because on December 21st, when we were out there, me and my buddy George and Robert, we were hiking along the trail, and we heard something over to our left. They were trying to get around us, trying to distract us from going somewhere, I guess. I'm not sure. But, Robert seen it in front of me because I was turned sideways, and I couldn't see it. But Robert seen it, and it crossed the trail right in front of us. And, we get up to where he literally just went down the embankment down to the flat, and it cleared that distance in, like, what seemed like seconds. They can be there, and they're gone like that, and then you'll never see them again.
Yes, and again too, another thing that they possess that I think that cannot be debated anymore. Like I said, man, like there's certain things, like Chuck said, man. They've been taking us to school for a long time, man. Like until we get one on display, and we know what they are. Mm-hmm. But you cannot deny their intelligence, and you cannot deny that mid-tarsal break in their foot. That foot.
Oh no.
You can't deny that. That foot is.
It's insane, man.
It's strange, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one that I casted back in October, man, it's freaking wild, man. Yeah. Huge, insanely huge.
Harley, do you have that handy real quick to show Chuck?
Oh, yeah, I got it sitting right here.
Chuck, check this out, brother.
Yeah, hang on just a second. Let me get her out of her box.
And don't break it.
Are you buying like Cain's Cove and stuff like that, or where do you go researching?
Yeah, like Cain's Cove area and all this right around in here, yeah. I research in a lot of Scott Carpenter's areas. He's a big inspiration for what I do. And I'm very blessed to be friends with his son Travis. And I wish I started this sooner, but it's all in God's timing, and God wanted me to start doing this whenever. So I just it was His timing. So I casted this on the third Saturday of October. It was the 15th. I can't remember what date it was. It was when we played Alabama. Tennessee played Alabama. I went out squatching, because I thought Alabama was going to beat us. Sure enough, beating them, and I ended up casting this footprint too. So I was tickled to death with that. I may have turned that off, but.
Oh, look at that! Wow, that's freaking awesome. That's beautiful. Wow.
Dude, it's insane, man. Like it tickled me so bad, because this one was the first one that came out perfect after so many other ones that I just failed at casting, and this one was just so perfect, man. Like it was so fresh. Like it was insanely fresh. Like I'm talking like 15, 20 minutes. I mean, it was just made.
Wow.
And that area that I casted it in, we've been affected by Helene pretty bad, and all that.
Sure.
The creeks have all washed out and everything, and it made a sandbar right there at the creek, and sure enough, it was sitting right there in the mud, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I was so nervous. I was talking to myself. I was like, man, this one better not break. This one better not break. And I took my knife and I pried it around and it came up, and I cut it loose, and I heard it pop, and I was like, oh no. And then I pulled it up, and I bawled, man. I cried like a baby. I did.
That's awesome.
So happy.
And another thing,
that's fantastic.
Another thing that these things are too, Chuck, I would like, if you can, if you would tell the story about how you had told me that there was a lady who lived pretty in a remote place, and you were up there, and she said that she just was interacting with these things all the time. And then I'll tell you my theory on that. Chuck, can you tell us that story real quick?
Yeah, well, Mike and I, Mike Lucci, who's the guy, the co-host of the Bigfoot Journal with me, he lives in Westchester County, which is in New York State, and we always kind of investigate together. And this lady reached out to me, who lived probably about a half an hour from me in Sussex County, New Jersey, and she's like, listen, I have, they come by my house, and they're in my backyard. They sit and look in the window and watch my sister. Her sister was disabled, but her sister used to sing a lot, and they used to come and just watch her sing and everything like that. And this lady, her house, it's back in the 70s. Her house was on a dirt road, and the Appalachian Trail was basically like a half a mile from her house. And I don't know if you remember the Finding Bigfoot show when they were in New Jersey. They interviewed an older lady, who saw one when she was a kid with her dad when they were raccoon hunting. Basically, that swamp where she had her sighting is basically across the street from where this lady's house was. and we went and we investigated her property. The tree structure that was there when I first met her was knocked down, which was kind of weird. But then we walked through her, her backyard is just all woods. And we walked, we bushwhacked all the way till we get to a power line. And I was telling Mike, Mike, I'm not, I was 50 something years old at the time. I'm 54 now, but I'm like, I'm not going through the woods. It's dusk. Let's just go down the power cut and go walk down the street, and we'll go sit on this lady's deck. And the thing must have paralleled us when we were walking along the street. And we got on the deck, and we're sitting there, and the lady was like, listen, I don't want you filming here. I don't want you recording anything. And sure enough, when we were sitting there, we heard a couple clacks. We heard a woodblock response, and then we were kind of just sitting there, and then finally a tree was pushed down, in the same area, basically in the backyard of where she was at. And the weird thing about that was the way the tree was pushed down, her yard was it was a 45-degree angle. It was a steep, real pain in the ass to friggin' walk up, hill. This tree, instead of falling down the hill, it fell sideways. And then there's heavy footfalls going up the hill. So if there was a tree that got knocked down or just fell down and it disturbed rocks, all that stuff would be rolling down the hill towards the house.
Exactly.
Yeah. It wouldn't be going up and away and sideways. So that was the really kind of a cool experience we had. We did. She showed us some prints, but there was nothing we could cast because it was in grass. And there was a shed she had that you could see where the oil from the one, whatever. She said there's a family that kind of hangs out in her spot. But one of the males, or the bigger ones, the oil from the hair was actually rubbing the paint off the shed.
Wow. Against it, man.
Influence against it. So it was pretty cool. But that's. Like I said, and the area where it was is in like a residential area, but a lot of the houses were all foreclosed, and there was a lot of just empty houses everywhere. So, and like I said, just the proximity to the Appalachian Trail. There was a couple schools right by the area too, which I think they're like they like going to schools and watching the kids play. I think it's like TV for them. Yeah. Plus you got the dumpsters there and everything like that. It's an easy meal.
Yeah.
So,
and that story right there, I've used that story in several conversations with people when they try to dumb these things down. I'm like, no, because they also exhibit the following factors, right? Of that. Mm-hmm. One, family cohesion.
Yep.
They do that. Number one, right? Number two, curiosity. Right,
mm-hmm.
And here's a very important thing that I'm talking to people about. I call it. There's not really a word for it. It's called controlled curiosity. Now a cat will stare at something for enough time and then go for it. A dog, when he's curious and he's not scared, he's right up in it, tails a wagging, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
These things, out of respect, these Bigfooties, I call them.
Yeah.
They will observe. And they also, man, they will observe for long periods of time, right?
Yeah. It's like the watchers,
Exactly. And here's the thing, too, man, that I tell people, man, that because again, man, I'm all in on these things. I am all in.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people this all the time. There's one other trait that they have that no other animal other than us has, and they have the full range of emotions.
Yep.
Full.
I can see that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Fear to rage, curiosity to love.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. They also are empathetic.
They're tricksters too.
Yeah, and they have that's it right there. They'll play jokes on you. You understand? They will.
Mm-hmm.
They will mess with you.
I'll tell you a funny one that just happened to me recently.
Well, hit me, Harley.
So December 12th, I was out, and I was casting a footprint, Well, this one was. It was. I don't know if it was. It was just a weird looking footprint, you know. But it had the heel and everything. I don't know if it stepped funny or if it had a messed up foot or what. But I casted it, and it was getting late. You know, it was starting to get dark, and I'm standing there waiting, and I could hear them walking around me. You know, I'm standing right there, and these laurel bushes are all around me, and I'm standing in the middle of this holler, and I'm just like, oh, snap, this is a bad spot to be in. And I could hear what sounded like two of them talking back and forth to each other. You know, they were trying to be quiet. One of them sounded like it may have been a little bigger because his voice was deeper. It was they were saying something.
Samurai.
And then it sounded like the other one was a little smaller, you know, because his voice was different. It was like, you know, it was like the big one was cussing that little one out for leaving the footprint, you know, because this track was like 14, 15 inches. You know, I think that big one, because it sounded like a bigger one and a smaller one. You know, they were having their own little conversation. And you know, I decided to leave. I was like, you know what, they're going to get ticked off if I stay in here any longer, you know. Because I normally just leave them be, you know. I'll leave before dark, and you know, I decided to leave. I came back that next morning, it was gone. They pulled up the cast and took it.
Really? Wow.
That was the craziest thing that has ever happened to me in there thus far. You know.
Wow.
I cast it and everything. I left it sitting right there. I didn't think they would take it, but now I know they will.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, it was so funny being right there, and they were literally like having their own little conversation. Like you could tell that one was a little bit bigger than the other one, you know, just in their tone of their little samurai joke that they were doing. And it was like just so interesting, you know, because like that, they were like having little conversations, like that big one shooting that small one out for leaving that footprint.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the way we communicate, because like I told you before, with the rock clacking, it was weird because we were sitting on the deck, and it was myself, Mike, this lady, and her sister, and we got the one clack, and then you got clack, 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 and then you had the wood knocked back. So basically, it was like one clack to get the other one's attention, and then the 4 clacks to count down people on the deck, and then you had the wood knocked back, saying, "Okay," you know what I mean? So it's like. That's, you know, they're very smart. You know, I mean, besides being jokesters and you know, I mean, they're. Yep.
Yeah, I tell people. So before we change gears onto a darker subject, when I studied this, I did the Seraphim and Enigmites. Both of these guys, the stories they're telling us are on details. Go into the EnigmaCast archives, pull up the podcast, go in there and look at it. Great shows, but. Seraphim Long abduction case went down in Western Canada, and also too, there's one more case that happened. I want to say in Washington State, but they reported that the Native Americans, they had reported that, you know, during the stories that these creatures have their own individual personalities, right? They have their own individual.
Oh, they're like us.
Yeah,
they're exactly
like us,
like us. You know, they have their good and their bad days. There's good ones, there's bad ones. You know, they're exactly like us.
And so, I actually to the point that, and I know this might sound just a tad bit like condescending, but you know, this is how it comes out. If you are a non-believer in this phenomenon, right? Then you've never really looked. You've never really read anything. But if you're just like, nah, no way,
that was me. That was me.
Yeah,
I rubbed it off, man. I didn't believe in none of it. You know, I believed in Black Panthers, but not Bigfoot. You know, and in 2020, I seen my first Bigfoot. And now here I am. I'm out searching for them.
Yeah, you've never even just read one thing, man. Like again, the stories range like thousands of years. Like it's not like it's something that's going on right now. Where's the body? Where's the bodies, bro? Good question. Well, I don't know.
That's the $1 million question. And I'm afraid we may never get that.
I'll tell you this, boys. Before we switch gears real quick on this, I'll tell you this. And this is the thing I've always said this before, man. People that don't go into the woods don't know anything about a deer carcass will be gone in one day in the woods. One day.
Yep.
One day. By the time the sun goes down, the possums are eating the bones. You've never found one bone in the woods. Not one.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this too.
Porcupines, yeah.
You never found it, right? You don't find anything dead in the woods, man. It'll clean itself up. I'm not talking about the trail at the freaking water park where you're on like the green trail or whatever, right? It's on a float map. But I will tell you this. This guy sent me a thing, and he said that I want to say it was either Alaska or somewhere in Canada, that I don't know if you guys have heard about this. They found a grizzly bear ripped in half and thrown up into a tree like 20 feet. Did you hear about this?
What? Really?
Yeah, no.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, so a grizzly, and again, Enigmites, for funsies, go on YouTube and type and get a close up on what a grizzly bear looks like. You have no idea the machines these things are. And they have no
black
fear.
bear's a lot smaller than a grizzly.
Yeah, they have no fear. A grizzly bear fears nothing. It doesn't know fear, right? It thinks everything it is theirs. And this guy, so I had this thing, man. If a Bigfoot wanted to smoke you, you are smoked. You understand?
Oh yeah.
Right?
100%.
Yeah, heck yeah.
You are smoked.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, you're done. And
Yep.
they probably don't leave their dead out. That's why you don't find their body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they do.
Yeah.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's the thing, man. Like I said, I wouldn't leave you guys dead in the woods. Right? And so they're definitely, that's why another thing that I try to tell people is like, everybody wants to think that these things, if they were just lumbering, we'd already be having cameras out there, man. We would always, if we could get them with a Kit Kat bar, you know what I'm saying? It would already be done. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. And the video, the story was the guy I was talking to him, man, is because in the siege, the Portlock incident,
Right.
something killed a moose with its bare hands, right? With a moose, right? And if you've never seen a moose up close, man, or whatever,
Those things are 2,000 pounds, man. They're crazy.
2,000 pounds, right? So something,
Massive.
yeah, massive, right? And so that guy's like, that's nothing, man. Here, check this story out. And it was, man, that they found a grizzly bear ripped in half, and half of it was in a tree, 20 feet up in a tree. Like something ripped it in half, and it one went that way and the other one went up that way, right?
Well, you got
That's
to think about
crazy.
it. You got to think about it this way too. Like down south, your prey items are going to be a lot smaller.
Yeah.
So you're typically, Bigfoot probably down south, they may get 7.5, 8 feet tall max. Farther north, you talk about the 12-foot height max, it's not bigger, so a grizzly bear being ripped in half by something,
Yeah.
that's got to be pretty dang on big.
Yeah, there's actually a scientific word for it, man, about that animals or people that live in colder environments over time just get bigger, right? And again, man, it's the reason why the Vikings showed up 6 feet to 6'4", and the Brits were 5'4", and then they thought these giants were coming ashore, and that was the average height for them. But anyways, boys, now that's all good. That's the fluffy stuff, right? We're gonna get a little dark here. It's the fluffy stuff.
Yeah, a little dark. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, no holds barred now.
No, we're gonna change gears on this, man. Like so.
Oh.
And I'm going to ask you the same question, too, that seems to be just as equally as to if I could get a Bigfoot researcher to... Again, man, are y'all aware of a Bigfoot-Dogman beef between researchers? Are y'all familiar with this? About how you look for the fluffies, I look for the killers. I'm like, what are y'all like for real? Like they get all territorial, right? I'm like,
that's a whole nother it's a whole nother community. It's like you can jump down so many rabbit holes with all these different cryptids and stuff. But it's like I stick with Bigfoot because it's just it interests me. Like I said, first of all, if there's a half dog, half man out in the woods, I'm probably staying inside or even moving into the city. You know what I mean?
Chuck, you put the boots up.
It's like, that's not fun.
Chuck, are you hanging the boots up, brother?
Hanging the boots up, man.
Hang the boots up. So here's the thing, too. I'm going to ask you the same question, man. All right. So, Chuck, start with you, brother. What do you think this Dogman is? What do you think it is? Because it's coming all out of it.
I think Dogman might be alien. I think it's alien.
Right.
The reason why I say this is because when we had our show This Week in Bigfoot, right back there. We had Jody Cook on our show, who was a very well-known dogman researcher. And he was in. He told us a story on the show, so I'm just going to reiterate his show, and hopefully I'll do it. I'll do it justice. But he was doing a conference in Vegas, and he was in the bar afterwards having a drink, and he had some guy approached him who stayed anonymous, but said that he worked at Area 51, and he told Jody that either Spielberg or George Lucas had access to Area 51 before they filmed Star Wars. Okay? Now, the famous scene when Han Solo meets Luke Skywalker in that bar, what do you see in that bar? You see two dog-like men figures in that bar scene.
Yeah.
And he said that he was able to get so many, different ideas of aliens from his access. Now, like I said, if it's true or not, who knows? But supposedly, some guy came up and told this story to Jody Cook. So, but I can definitely see how, it could be true. And I definitely can see how they could be alien.
No, Chuck. Chuck. I got some more ammunition for that, man. And for all you enigmats out there, it's called the Moss Eisley's Cantina, because I'm kind of a nerd that they were in there. But there is another to add on to what you just said. There is a very interesting conversation taking place in a totally different rabbit hole that you go on to add credence to what Chuck just said. Not only is what Chuck just said about him having access to that cantina, but the whole entire Star Wars story was told to George Lucas. That is actually, that someone told that was a history that he's repeated, right? And that he made those movies and all that stuff that was described to him, that this happened, and they say that it happened around in the Orion star system. That's what there's a whole thing going on there, that George Lucas, because if you go and look, this is a true story. There is a manuscript, and that was written on a special type of papyrus paper, right? It's very, very, time that it was found in Istanbul, Turkey.
Oh, wow.
And this paper was very, very expensive to make. Like, you had to be very rich to make it. And on that paper is Yoda. There is a Yoda-looking creature on that freaking parchment that was in there, right?
Wow.
And people said, oh, he was just doodling. This isn't normal paper. Like, this paper was very hard to make, very, very, very expensive to make. Like this was made by this ain't some kid at the Waffle House.
It's like resume paper. It's like the good paper you use for resume.
Exactly, right? So yeah, Chuck. Man. So I immediately thought of you, man, when I was like, yo, man, Chuck told me that story, man. I was like, you know what, man? And they're like, yeah, man. I said, yeah, he's just repeating a tale, right? So anyways, Harley.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I already know where you're going, Tennessee boy. What do you think they are?
From having seen one, I won't wish that on anybody. Them things are straight up terrifying. Physically seeing one. Today, last year, January 29th, 2024. Seeing one of these things. 8 foot tall, not including the ears. It took 3 steps, which was 28 feet. Very raccoon-like hands, a big poofy tail like a fox's, but the one that I seen, most associate, having the backwards facing legs. The one I seen had forward facing legs. These bright yellow eyes. So.
But now, did it have claws or did it have feet?
Huh?
Did it have claws or did it have like feet? Did it have like what were the feet? Or was it like?
I couldn't tell the feet because of the leaves. The only thing I could tell you was the hands, and they looked like raccoon hands. That's the best way I can describe it. So I essentially there's an evil presence about those things. When you look into those eyes, it's evil. It's not a good feeling. My life flashed before my eyes. You know, my kids growing up without me, my wife being a widow without me. You know, not very good feeling. You know, just being a missing 411 case. You know, nobody's gonna find me.
Yeah, no.
And you know, so my second experience with one, you know, I never seen it. You know, it was myself and my daughter's stepdaughter's dad. We were out turkey hunting, like 20 minutes from downtown Knoxville, an area called Forks of the River. We were stalked by one, and you know, we could hear the bipedal footsteps, and you know, but I heard it first. He didn't hear it. So we're walking up this creek bed, and you know, I'm just waiting for him to say something that he hears it. And there's this tree that's fallen over, and we had to pull ourselves up. I'm 6'6", so I had to reach up and pull myself up out of that tree to get out of the creek bed. Hunter's like 6'2", 6'3", and we get up out of this creek bed and we start walking. And Hunter says, "There's something following us." I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's been following us for about 20 minutes now." He said, "What is it?" I said, "Probably a Bigfoot," because he knows I do all this. And he's like, "Seriously?" I said, "Yeah, it's probably a Bigfoot." I said, "It's bipedal footsteps, ain't it?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Exactly." So I turned around. I took a picture to the left. I took a picture straight in the middle, and I took a picture to the right. And I said, "All right, let's go." He dropped me off at home, and I got to looking through the pictures. And that first picture, there wasn't nothing there. That second picture, right in that creek bed where we just pulled ourselves out of, is this huge, giant pit bull looking face. Like I think I can pull it up here. Hang on just one second. Let's see if I can pull this thing up. Like this thing is wild, man. Check that out.
Hold on, I can put my freaking glasses on for this shit.
Let's go, Chuck.
Fucking old here, man.
Come on, Professor Larson.
Look at that. Oh, man. Fuck that. No, that's it.
And so Chuck,
I'm telling you, man, they're terrifying. Dog, man? No, man.
So Chuck, we grew up. So Harley and I grew up in East Tennessee. I was in the upper part. Harley was towards the middle part and the low part. But there's actually a very not so secret, scary military underground lab
in
facility.
Rogersville.
Yeah, it's called
what's called Rogersville.
They call it Oak Ridge, right? What do they call it?
Oh yeah, Oak Ridge. Yeah, Oak Ridge. Yeah,
Oak
but there's
Ridge.
one in Rogersville too.
So when I was younger and we would get out and about, man, it wouldn't be uncommon, man, where you'd just be out and about and you'd see like a stovepipe coming out of the ground, right? Like a stovepipe, right? Like just and we people were like, "Yo, you know, what is that, man?" Like we wouldn't even know. When you get a little bit older, man, like the fairy tales was, "Hey man, like you got to be careful, man. Oak Ridge will get you. Like Oak Ridge will get you." And they're like in the so so when the whole couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, when I was hearing about like, you know, these experiments and all this other stuff, like if you wanted to make a Dogman like hybrid, the Smoky Mountains would be the perfect place
to turn it loose.
Man. It would be the perfect, because it'll go right into western North Carolina, man. It'll go right into it, man.
Oh yeah, there's no state lines. You can go wherever the hell wants to. Yeah, there's a lot of land down there.
There's miles and miles of wilderness from this Rome, essentially, here in the Great Smoky Mountains. I mean, they can go anywhere. Yeah. You know, and much like, you know, homeless people, I'm sure that they make a pretty good snack.
Well,
you know, I hate to go that route, but
But that Cain's Cove, goes. I mean, if you go up the mountain, the other side of the mountain is North Carolina, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Yeah. And so when I get bombarded with the Dogman theories, right? I don't know why people. I don't know. Look, man, I don't know why people get Enigmites. You want to know the difference between a Dogman and a Bigfoot? One is chill, the other one is not. Yes, one's an asshole. One's an asshole, man. But look, I don't know why. And I get the most from, like, I haven't did an episode on it, man. It's still in pre-production, man. But again, it's got so much data, and I try to like triple check everything or whatever. Was this whole incident that took place in this called the Land Between the Lakes down in Kentucky, man? Like this whole. Are you familiar with that, guys?
Dude, I've been to that place.
Yeah, I want to get down there.
I'll never go back. Yeah. I'll never go back. So the energy in that place.
Yeah.
is insane, man. It's evil. I won't go back there.
Yeah. So Chuck, man, like it's been told to me, and again, Enigmites, I haven't did like I've scratched the surface on looking at this, right? There was a full-on Dogman Bigfoot war that took place in this park called the Land Between the Lakes down in Kentucky.
It's in Tennessee too.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. It bleeds over. It bleeds over into Tennessee.
Okay. Middle Tennessee. Yeah,
that makes
like Paris, Tennessee, and all that.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. The Fiduciary just, of course, spills over down there. But and it was over. It was over. The Bigfoots went to war with these Dogmen because these Dogmen tore up some people in their camper, right?
Yeah, I heard a similar story.
Yeah, gnarly.
Yeah, and so
there's a story. I heard a story. A friend of mine, she was at the Tennessee conference last year, and one of her friends that always comes to visit her, he had a story. Him and his wife, where they had a brand new puppy or dog, and they left it out, and the dog was so scared. And it's kind of a sad story, so I'm sorry, but they let the dog out. The dog was whimpering all the time, and they had to go to work. And they came back, and the dog was ripped to shreds. It was killed, and they said it was because the Dogman got it. But then the Bigfoot that's on their property actually went to war with the Dogman, and basically set him straight. And but yeah, I heard a very similar story, but not a war, but just
And here, add this to your guys' plate. I had Shay come on from Shay Photography, man, on Instagram. She lives out in Oklahoma, right? And all you know her. She told me a story where her and her kid were out were hiking in like Oklahoma. And Oklahoma, I've been sleeping on Oklahoma, man. Like it is a horrifying place, man, with like cryptids and stuff like that, right? So she told me this story where her and her son were out, and as they were going down like this path they were going into, they got a feeling about them. Right? They got a feeling about them. And again, Enigmites, I'm telling you right now, you better trust, if you want to get into this type of stuff and do what these guys do, you better learn to trust your gut, right? And you better learn to trust your instinct. It will keep you alive. There is no shame in stopping and turning around and just walking out, right? There's no shame.
Yep. It'll keep you on the right side of the dirt. And
it will, man. It will keep you alive. And so she's walking through this, these woods with her kid. Her kid's like 11 years old, man. It's not like an infant or whatever, like this kid, right? And old enough to know what's going on. They got a weird feeling about it, right? Well, they kind of just like, whatever. It's just keep going. She gets going. It gets weirder and weirder. She gets to a point where she describes this creature that is a Bigfoot stepped out of the woods and just like kept her from going any further. Just just stopped, right? It wasn't aggressive.
Wow.
Didn't make any noise. Didn't do anything, right? It just kept her and her kid from like, hey, look, and it showed itself. It made some noise. It made some noise. So like they're like, oh my gosh, and of course turned around and they just booked it up the path, right? Mission accomplished.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, there are countless stories of. I won't say countless, man. I'm kind of an exaggeration. I know at least 8 of them. Countless. I went from countless to 8. I went from countless to 8, boys. There was countless.
2 hands.
Actually, I know like 8 of them. Like, not countless, man, but like there are more than a few stories that I've been told to me that reached out, and at first I just dismissed them. Right? I was like, yeah, okay, like it sounds too fantastical at face value, right? Where these Bigfoots protect people from these Dogmans, man. Like they protect them, and also, I mean, again, it makes sense because another couple stories I've heard, especially when you get out in the big boy parks, man, Yellowstone and like the really ones, right? Where kids go lost for like, a day and a half, and they talk about a hairy thing keeping them alive, or like a hairy thing that kept them there, or like, like got them back on the path.
Yeah, like there was a case in North Carolina where the boy said the bear man saved him.
What?
Yeah.
He said what?
Yeah.
The bear man, the North Carolina. There was a little boy missing in North Carolina. He said the bear man helped him.
Yeah. So, again, that shows to me that's compassion, man. This isn't a wild creature, man. This isn't wild. This isn't a wild thing, right? Yeah, boys, man, isn't this fun though? Like, who would not want to be into this, bro? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
I know, this is crazy.
I wouldn't have it any other way, man. I love it. I enjoy this.
Dogman too. Also, don't forget Nimrod. He also did a lot of experiments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So bring it back to the Bible. He was crossbreeding everything. So
no, he absolutely was. And here's another thing too that I just found out, right? How so if you go and read, I keep this book over here, man. It's the 54 Apocrypha. It's the books that were taken out of the Bible, right? And again, it was taken out of the Bible by the Catholic Church, who is Mystery Babylon in the Book of Revelations. Catholics are good people, but you know what? When you get to the top, it's not. Nimrod not only. So here's the thing that this story will tell you when you read it. Nimrod, they say, was 2/3 Nephilim, but he was born a man. What he had was, he had Adam's clothing. And so when you go back and you read that, right, that's how he got so big and so smart and so, like, terrifying, is because he had passed down from generation to generation. He somehow had the clothes that God crafted for Adam. And when he put these clothes on, he changed. And so when it says he became 2/3 Nephilim, right? If you read it, it's a great read, man. It never says he was born. It said he became 2/3 Nephilim, right? And that's when he started building the Tower of Babel. That's when he started doing all these animal hybrid. He stopped aging. He stopped aging. This is and like Chuck was saying, he conducted all of these animal human hybrid testing. And so when you see these, and this was Babylon, it was Baghdad, it was downtown Iraq, and when you see their artwork and you see a dog with a human head, that is what they saw. That is not
wasn't there a saint that was depicted as a dog man, but then the church changed him to be depicted as a man?
No, they never changed him. His name, I want to say his name is Saint Christopher, right?
Saint Christopher, yeah.
And he is actually a cephalocenopod or something like that is what they call him, right?
Oh, cynocephaly, that's what they
cynocephaly, yeah. Sorry
on
that, right?
Scientifically.
But here's another thing too. Again, Enigmites, to throw a little history lesson on here when we closing out with my boys. All you have to do is scratch the surface, and it's true. Alexander the Great. They want you to believe that Baghdad is that Iraq is a dump, and that Afghanistan is a dump. They're actually Greek ruins that Alexander the Great made. Alexander the Great is actually buried in Afghanistan somewhere. There was a valley that he could not conquer. I can't remember the name of the valley. It's still a very popular valley there right now that he couldn't conquer. And because of that respect, when he died, he has to be buried in this
Hey, you want a rabbit hole to go down? Hey, what if he couldn't conquer that valley because of them giants?
No, he couldn't. He couldn't. No, listen.
Hey, I mean, you kind of hard giants have that in Afghanistan. What if he couldn't conquer it?
You're onto something. Yeah. He couldn't conquer it because of the dog-headed men he came across. He couldn't beat them.
That was...
So he said that he encountered a race. This is Alexander the Great, who documented everything. He encountered a race of men with dog heads that communicated with language and barking. They fought butt naked. They could not defeat them. They were fierce. Then, fast forward a little bit, Julius Caesar's nephew, Augustus, was the second Caesar of Rome. He had a general. This general's name was Agrippa. Agrippa, in his right, this was Augustus Caesar's number one general. In his writings, he encountered the same thing, a race of dog-headed men that he could not defeat. They ate the dead, and they could not. And he documented it. They were the first warriors. And then here's the third one that you can pull on. Again, this adds to the broader spectrum of these cryptids. There's a wall in England called Hadrian's Wall, and it's a wall that splits England in half. Now they'll tell you that the Romans built that wall because they could not conquer the Druids in the north, basically Scotland. They couldn't conquer them, right? That's a lie. The Roman legions were the most advanced military at the time than everybody. They conquered everything they saw. And you're telling me they couldn't conquer 400 more miles into England? No. What happened was when they got there, they met the dog-headed men, and they got smoked.
Wow.
And the dog-headed men did something to the Romans that hadn't been done in like 1,000 years. It raided them. They built that wall to keep them out from them coming over there and killing them. And if you go right now, there are stories about people in northern Scotland who have encounters with these dog-headed people wearing military fatigues. True story.
Whoa, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, weaponized hybrid. Yeah, it's like, it's,
so,
I mean, there's truth in the science fiction, y'all. I'll stand by that today.
And just like Chuck said, man, they were making these things, right? Or they were creating these things, or something came down here and just stayed and just reproduced these things or whatever. Yeah, boys. And so that leads back to, I mean, this is just what I call, man, is just rabbit holes upon rabbit holes upon rabbit holes.
Hey, once you go down, you never come back up.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, boys. So anyways, man, guys, oh man, this has been great, man. Look, I love having, this is the first time I've had 2 experts come on, and you guys are experts. 2 experts. Yeah, you are, man.
Can't say expert. That's taboo. Don't say no one's an expert in this field.
Look, you're my expert.
No one's an expert.
So
you can have as much knowledge in this as you want, but you can never be an expert.
Yeah.
If I say you're experts, you're experts. You boys are my experts. Look, you get your
well, we
experts.
may be experts, but we're not experts in
I'm
this.
gonna get my experts on the phone.
Experience.
Look, that's how I argue.
We have experience.
I'm a glorified fanboy. That's what I am.
That's how I argue.
Joe's fanboy down there.
That's it, man. That's how I argue, boy. I call my experts at the club or at the bar. I put them on speaker, and I'm like, yo, Chuck, how do you handle this guy?
Okay, well, where's your expert?
Call a friend, right?
Right. Yes, absolutely, man. So no, you guys are, man. You guys are, man. I
appreciate that.
I have, man. I've talked to a lot of, and this, look, I'm not throwing shade at my previous guests or people that I've talked to. But everybody's had some encounters. Not only people I talked to, they've had some type of encounter. But when your guys' body of work, it's just like I said, man. That your resume is a lot longer and your resume is a lot deeper. And I'm just sorry, that's how it is, man. So you're experts, damn it. All right, you're both experts.
Okay.
So Chuck,
I appreciate. Thank you.
Joe.
Real quick, man. Before we route, real quick, man. Take your time, but let everybody know what's on your schedule, man. Where you're going to be. Plug your show. Chuck has a great show. Plug it, man. Give him a plug, down there.
All right, we got that every other Tuesday now. We're on Tuesdays now. It's called the Bigfoot Journal. We're on the Untold Radio Network. Mike Lucci's the host. I'm the co-host. And we do a lot of we scour the internet, and we just find different stories. We try to find sightings. We try to find anything to tie our show into Bigfoot. Like last show, we were talking about we're talking about the great apes. We talk about great apes a lot. We're trying to tying that stuff into Bigfoot, and it's a great show. If you could watch it, it would be awesome. We have our Facebook group is the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective. I appreciate you, Joe. You're a member of it, and and we got Gwen's. She's got Knocker. She's part of our group. She's got her festival in August. Mm-hmm. So if you guys can come out to that first weekend in August out to Ellisburg, Pennsylvania,
I'll be there.
And I can't wait to see you again, bro.
So
that's about it.
Yeah, I'm a member of Chuck's group. Like I said, it'll be in all this other details. Will be able to find them. Go check it out, man. This show's great. Like I have a very limited podcast show selection. He's one of them. Harley, tell them everybody. Tell them where you're going to be, Harley. Where they can find you. What you got coming, dude.
Oh boy, y'all can find me on all my social media platforms, Bigfoot Reports and Data. It's an and symbol. Let's see. May 3rd, Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival in Townsend, Tennessee. It's May 3rd. You can find me there. I will be speaking alongside Maria Mayer and so many others, Martin Grove, Adam Davies, and I'm really excited and blessed to be up there with some of the big names, you know. And Tennessee Wildman and Crypticon is later this year. So is the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference in Gatlinburg. I am going to be there as well. And whatever else comes available that I may be able to attend, I will be there as well, as I hope and plan to be. So, yeah, I'm just very, very fortunate, very blessed to be a part of this community and do what I do. And, you know, I love doing this. You know, I love meeting the people and hearing the stories, you know, sharing my experiences, my encounters, and just, you know, kind of having a voice for those that kind of don't. And, you know, from what I had to deal with after my first experience, you know, ridicule from my family and friends, you know, not talking to my family and friends after that first experience, you know. And it's been this year will be 5 years, and it's been pretty rough. So, you know, and it is what it is, you know, and I'll just thank everybody enough for tuning in on this. You know, Joe was a great guy, and it was really nice to meet Chuck tonight, and I look forward to doing
Absolutely.
Yep, for sure.
We got to get in the woods together.
Absolutely. I love that, yeah. Hey, all three of us, we can do it.
For sure. So, yeah, man, like Harley, I know what you're talking about, man. I think something's broken with me because, like, I think I do it. I got to do it to make my family mad. Like, yeah, I just got to get at them, man. So that's just how I roll. But anyways, so check it out, Enigmites. Go give these guys a follow. And I also too, I get hit up a lot, and I am a kind of a notorious slow responder to people that I actually talk to on a regular basis. These guys can attest to that, right? So if I don't know you, trust me, don't take it personal, but you are at the bottom of the list, right? I will eventually get down there. But one of the questions I get from a lot of people is asking me, how can I get into this type of stuff? Chuck, I'll give you a real quick run after. Like, I spend a lot of time in Shenandoah. I'm in the DC, Northern Virginia area. I go to Shenandoah. I'm in there when it's not freezing. Every weekend I'm in there. Chuck works the northeast part of the Appalachian Trail. He's in there, the Catskills or whatever. Harley has his section down there in the middle Tennessee portion on that. If you want to learn how to do this, go follow these two guys. I'm telling you right now, go watch their content, and they will answer your questions. You can hit them up, right? And ask them up. They will get you into it, and they will tell you what you need, what to do, and more importantly, what not to do, and kind of what to avoid, right? And again, so Chuck,
just have a lot of patience. That's basically the bottom line. Have a lot of patience.
Yeah, a lot of patience.
And again, and I'm gonna give you the one thing, Enigmites, that I will tell you, that the advice that I can tell you on this is that with these two experts here, you're not on their level. Do not go alone like that one does, right? Do not go alone.
That's me.
That's what I pointed at. Do not go alone like that one does, and don't start out your first trip as a night trip. Boys, tell them the woods at night are different. Are they wrong, boys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't go at night. That's a different ballgame.
Yeah, scout it. You know, find an area, scout it first, get familiar with it, and then go out. Because once those lights go out, everything, you can think everything's a Bigfoot, and it's not. It's going to be acorns. It's going to be leaves. It's going to be, you know what I mean? So, just know your territory and find someone to go with. Find a couple people to go with.
That's fine.
I mean, I've had a lot of success going, even go with females. Go with like a male and female. You know what I mean? If you can find a woman to go with you, because I think the Bigfoots are attracted to females. So,
absolutely. 100%. Yeah, Chuck hit the nail on the head there. Just be careful. Safety is a number one priority, first of all. And I will say this: when you go into the woods, that is their home. You respect them on their turf. And if you disrespect them, you will piss them off.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and again, Enigmites, I'll say this all the time. The most dangerous thing you'll normally encounter in the woods is going to be other people. So you need to be aware that there's people, not everybody out there is, for good intentions. But just be safe. But anyways, Enigmites, I'm going to be hanging out with Chuck first week of August and hanging out with Gwen in that Bigfoot conference up there. I will be up there 100% sure. And I will actually be at Harley's event May the 3rd down there in Tennessee as well.
Nice. That's awesome.
I'll be running lives down there, doing interviews again, talking to these guys as well. These are my boys. These are my buddies. And I'm telling you what, I can't speak highly enough about them. Get in their comments, get them hit up, go follow their channels. Both of them have channels, really good channels. Go follow them, get their content going, and give them likes, give them subscribes. And again, they're both super chill. If you have questions, they will answer your questions. However, I'm not that chill, and I'll probably wait 6 weeks before I even see yours. And I'm sorry, that's just how daddy balls, right? That's just the fidelity that goes on in my life, right? Because I go in a lot of different directions, man. So if you're not in, again,
check out my shirt. Run CRC, bro. I like that, bro.
Run CRC. All right, man. So do us a favor.
Old school, brother. That's old school.
Old school. Hit the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. If you have any Bigfoot questions, leave them in the comments. These guys will chime in and answer them for you, or I will forward them off there to you. Or if you got a Bigfoot story, also too, if you got a story that you want to share with these guys, you can reach out to them, tell them directly, and get them on the show. Chuck, as always, a pleasure, brother. Harley, always a pleasure.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that.
No worries. And you Enigma, you know how I do. That's all you nerds get for $1. And we're out.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.